yeah, also extremely thrilled to have Professor Markus Dormann here on the panel. Professor Markus Dormann joins us from the Fernfachhochschule Schweiz. I'm sorry, I do not know how to translate it to English, to be honest. I didn't find the English translation, but it's the University for Remote Education, so to say. And yeah, Markus Dormann is the expert on remote education, on E-Didactic. And of course, in the current situation with Corona, quite a lot has also changed in the way we educate young talents, the way universities are working. Here in Switzerland, universities are now fully switched into the remote modus. And yeah, we're going to hear about this trend and about also the challenges and how to tackle these challenges in remote education right now from Markus. Markus, are you here? I see you.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you for the chance to be here and to show our perspective on the crisis and remote teaching. Of course, we had a lot to do in the last months because Corona really influenced our daily business very, very much. So first of all, I want to ask you what comes to your mind on hearing remote teaching in your business or in general. And I ask you to go to www.menti.com, use the code 6357558, and I ask you for your associations for remote teaching. And it would be really wonderful if we have a look on your ideas. What are your association about remote teaching? Okay, and thank you very much. Here are the first ideas: new workplace learning, simulators, reality. I wait for a second. Maybe some of you want to share your association to remote teaching with us here. So thank you very much for your associations. I will share my ideas and my main aspects. And if we talk about Corona, it's very interesting. Such a small thing like it's 40 to 100 nanometers, a coronavirus. It changes my daily business a lot. And I will show you some aspects what happened in the last months. Like, who is the FFHS? We were founded in 1998, 20 years ago, and we do distance learning. So since 2004, we are a member of the SUPSI, Scuola Universitaria Professionale della Svizzera Italiana. And our study model is blended learning, and that's very important to have this in mind. We have 5 departments: economics, informatics, e-didactics, real estate, and health. And you can see the new campus starting next year at the train station of Zurich next to it. Who are our students? Our students are part-time, flexible, family-friendly. Most of them are working men and women, professional athletes, or family men and women. And these are the 3 most important aspects if we talk about my job in the last months. Like, for example, we always do blended learning, and so we had a good start situation to realize remote teaching because, as I will show you, our blended learning means that our students prepare their classes at home 80% of their time, and the rest is normally taught in our different departments. We have one in Zurich, there is one in Basel, another one is in Bern, we have one in Brick, and so we teach then 20% with our teachers in presence teaching. But of course, in Corona, this was not possible. And another very important point for the FFHS was to do remote examination, because of course our students have to pass their tests, and this was a very interesting aspect to realize the tests bring your own device at home. So if I start with our blended learning model, of course, we have a lot of ideas what means blended learning, what are the quality criteria of our blended learning classes, for example, diversity of learning activities, formal consistency, incentive systems, collaborative elements, study guidance, and interactive elements. And this is a model. You can see the quality criteria model here. We are working for years with this. So this was very helpful to have these blended learning courses running, but we had to think about how can we realize blended learning, the 20% in presence. And this was not possible to do it in presence anymore. So we needed to go on with remote teaching. First of all, let's say 2 more sentences to the blended learning model. It's, of course, closely connected with a new teacher model. That means a teacher in our classes is a coach and he's for learning support. We normally don't have a teacher standing in front of a class in a webinar or in the presence and talking about a subject, because in the blended learning model, our students prepare this at home. We amplify and engross learnings with the teacher, and we have a lot of interaction, and this is very, very important. So as we realized, we are not allowed to do the presence part of our blending learning model. That means 20% of it in Bern or in Zurich, and we have to use remote teaching. We had a situation that 2,700 students, 420 teachers, and over 500 classes has to be done in remote teaching. That means we really had to extend our support structure, like our hotline. We set up Moodle courses to realize that our students are familiar with the tools we used. We started to give them some tutorials. We set up FAQs, and of course there was a forum for technical and didactical questions. And so we realized the remote teaching. We used a tool called Neuro, and this helped our teachers to go on with the classes. Another very important aspect was doing our exams. So there were coming 4,500 exams, and we tried to realize them, bring your own device. That means our home-based exam framework was used to realize that our students can pass their tests from home. We also used the hotline for this. We realized it by setting up Moodle courses to show them how the procedure will be. And we did a lot of webinars for experts in DACH, because this question was a very important one for every university and every institution in education, how to realize these remote examinations. Doing this, we started a cooperation with Intel Pandemic Response Technology Initiative, because Intel supported us by this initiative. We are developing artificial intelligence for fraud detection and further developments of our home-based exam framework. And you can see here the picture, and you see kind of our ideas how to realize fraud detection with AI. That means we try to realize that the student who passed the test always is in front of his computer. We try to realize that it's not possible to have some second person in the room who is helping the students. And so we did a lot of work in this, because the next 4,500 tests will come soon in January. I decided to show you a short video how we realize these tests, and have a look to this, please. Like, as you can see, someone is preparing his desk. Some things are allowed, some things not. We need a mobile phone to be able to contact our support if something goes wrong. One of the questions I always hear is, how can you realize that there is not another person in the room, for example? We will show you. So you can see the student preparing everything. Logging in the right programs and our learning management system. Using Moodle, we are using Moodle, and we use a software called Kaltura to realize our home-based exam framework. He's starting it now, showing his ID. Showing the room, recording the room, log into the right test, and so on. It goes on how we realize this exam framework use. We have different types of exams, like you can see here, a paper pencil version, and some other versions are just using the computer answering the questions. For answering the question, we're recording the student and we're recording the computer, and later on we check that everything was realized without fraud. So this was really a challenge for us, and it was very helpful to start the project with Intel, and we are really looking forward to use more artificial intelligence in the future, because it's really not easy to check every video with human hours, because so of course we have a lot of work checking every video of 4,500 tests, and it's very helpful to use artificial intelligence in this case. So these are the trends of e-learning, and as you can see, microlearning, Moocs, virtual reality in learning, augmented or virtual, adaptive learning, and e-assessment. And we have some classes using these different aspects. That means I showed you our idea of e-assessment. Of course, in a lot of classes, we use adaptive learning ideas, and we also do a lot of Moocs. We are in the beginning of producing new versions of Moocs, and this was very helpful to already be prepared before Corona to realize these e-learning aspects in times of Corona. So you can see, of course, gamification, game-based learning, open educational resources, a very important question for our university too, and digital citizenship are some more trends in e-learning. So here's my last aspect. We do a lot of cooperations with business companies in Switzerland, especially in Switzerland, and further education with high potentials. Moocs for high potentials. This is a very interesting new aspect. That means we realize together with companies Moocs for high potentials. We ask the companies what is very important in their business to be in a kind of MOOC, because these topics are very important for the companies. We then realized to put in these ideas, and of course we realize the ideas of our experts too, and together with companies we are producing these MOOCs and give our high potentials, our students, the chance to get in contact with the companies. And this is a very interesting new idea, producing MOOCs in this way. Like educational media for interactive courses, this is a very interesting field we also are in, and Media Skill Lab in Zurich campus starts next year. So this is what we are doing in e-learning and remote teaching in the future and at the moment together with companies. So thank you for your attention. I'm looking forward to answer your questions and your ideas. And so, Dominic, I pass you the ball back.
Yeah, thank you, Markus. Extremely interesting talk. Seeing your experience that you have done there in the field of E-Didactic. Now, when Corona came up and we had to realize that we have suddenly to shift to this remote learning at universities, which I think it was also at schools happening. I think it was kind of somehow surprising for most of the teachers and professors. Have you experienced a lot of requests for help, and how do you think is the best way of helping the teachers and the professors to suddenly switch from digital or from the classical way of training to the digital way of remote training?
Well, this is a very good question. I think we have some models really modeling this question very good. For example, the 5-step model of Salmon. So in the first beginning, it's very important to get the students and professors comfortable with the technical tools we are using. Of course, as a distance university, our professors are a kind of experienced with this, but to realize classes normally planned for presence learning, it is not possible to use exactly them in a distance learning remote context. So first of all, we tried to support the technical level. As I said, they had already experience with this. In the second step, it was very important to give them the right didactical ideas, how to do interaction, how to realize that students use their cameras and you don't speak into a black hole, or for example, how to realize group sessions, how to realize breakout sessions in a didactical idea. And so we had 2 steps. First of all, supporting the technical situation, and the second step was to give them the right didactical ideas how to realize their classes in a remote way.
Okay, thank you. And maybe there are a few more questions, but I would have at least one more. So we're now setting up these new methods and technologies, and probably we get also very comfortable with it, and we see, yeah, I can do the test from home, don't have to go to university to run my test. Do you believe this stays after the crisis, or is there a reason to go back to the standard way of education? So what will remain after the crisis? What is your perspective on that? And maybe just to give another question: how is Switzerland doing in this remote education compared maybe to other countries? Do you have an estimate on that?
I will begin with the first question. I really like this question because we did a lot of empirical studies to this. For example, the question, do you like to do your exams from home, at home? And we have had to realize this, but we gave our students the chance to say, I don't want to realize this at home. For example, imagine you have to record your room, as you have seen it in the video. And my empirical studies, I had more than 800 answers from 800 persons. It's half to half nearly. Like the half of the students say, I really like to realize exams in future at home because I don't have to use a train, it's cheaper, it's quicker, I know the environment at home, I know my rooms, nobody needs attention from me, I really have a silent situation and can pass the test. The other 50% said exactly they want to do the test with peers. They want to see their peers. They want to pass the test and celebrate after this. They don't want to record their rooms because it's a privacy idea and they don't want to show this. Or, for example, say that they don't have the right rooms, the right situation, the neighbors are loud, and so on. So half of the students said they really want to have this in future too, and half of them in the beginning of the questionnaires said we don't like it. As more as we as the students get used to realize tests and exams from home, as more they really enjoy staying at home, not using trains for realizing tests. And I think this will be in future really an interesting point. And the way we do exams as a distance university will change. For example, we will offer this as an USP in future. You can realize your exams from home if you want to do this. You asked me for how is Switzerland doing this situation.
Yeah,
I think I can speak about DACH. That means Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And I think some institutions are very good in realizing remote teaching and other ones really need help, and we get a lot of questions how we can improve this, how we can support. And on the other side we have some institutions they really are doing very good work. So I think it depends on the experience they made before, but Corona really helped our business to be better in remote teaching, to think about how we can do exams from home. And the resistance against doing remote teaching really reduced a lot.
yeah, that's what we hear quite a lot also this morning, that Corona really pushes us forward if we want or not, but suddenly we don't have alternatives. We have to use these digital technologies. Great. David, you are a university professor. How is your remote teaching experience, and do you have comments or questions to Markus?
Well, I guess in addition to, of course, the learning of the new enabling technologies from both sides, the lecturer and the student, you were mentioning, and perhaps also, making the question for Markus. I think it also has become a new working culture, a new working style for the faculty and also for the students. It's a new studying style, or so. I think that over the time, I think it's evolving. Perhaps people will feel more comfortable about this in the future. Still, some students, especially engineers, miss their labs. They love to be at their labs, and they feel that simulators, for example, don't give them the same experience. But my question, based on the research you are doing, Markus, what is telling you in terms of the adaptation that we're having towards this new working style as a faculty and to this new study style as a student? Are we resisting? Are we starting to lean into this new hybrid or virtual educational model?
Thank you very much for your question, and you nearly answered it, because we made the experience that a hybrid model is a very, very interesting option. As we know from a lot of studies, the relationship between the teacher and the student is very important. So for us as a distance learning, using blended learning, the presence classes are important too. But on the other side, we have a chance to do hybrid teaching. That means on the one hand, half of the class is using a remote teaching and the half of the class is in the classroom. And we tested this in the last years and after the Corona crisis, but of course after is the wrong word because we are really in the middle of it. We see that in future hybrid options are really interesting for our students, and we need the presence sometimes, but on the other hand, it's a very good option to use remote techniques. We need both, so hybrid will be the option in the future.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Professor Markus Dormann from the Fernfachhochschule Schweiz. Thank you so much for this interesting insight on remote education.
We have one question in the chat. May I ask if it's possible for all faculties or only for the technical universities / faculties for Markus? This is coming from Dominic Rassus. Yeah.
Is this question talking about exams, or I think it is about exams, for example?
Exams and also studying. I'm personally affected. My daughter is studying medicine in a medical school in Germany, and it's quite a challenge for them, also from a legal perspective, since it's a state exam in the end, to realize these things. And I hear from the more social or linguistic faculties, language faculties, etc., that they are quite challenged by these things. Do you see this? And also the feeling from my daughter tells me she's missing the other students, to cut it very short. How do you, as a university in Switzerland, handle all these also social, and these are young people growing up, they still get formed. How to handle this? Is the question too broad? I don't want to interrupt you from the lunch break. I would be quite interested because it is, I think, a major challenge for universities globally to keep that. You are still forming our younger people.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. I think, well, there are different questions inside this question. For example, of course, our students are older. So if we talk about younger students, it's even more difficult because maybe they are not so used to the technical environment. But if we talk about universities, it's possible for all faculties, in my opinion, especially if we talk about a kind of exam in the end of a semester. Of course, every faculty has his own subject and different questions and different tests, of course, too. But in my opinion, it's possible for all faculties. Of course, legal questions are very important, and we really discussed a lot with our lawyers. We really thought a lot about, is our system really stable? And it's very important to have a look on the legal aspects, or on the legal aspects. This is the reason why we use our own system, our own home-based framework, because we want to be sure that the tests are checked by our own employers, not someone is sitting somewhere in the world. This was a very important aspect why we built up our own system. Of course, there are companies offering this, but have a look on the legal aspect is one of the most important things doing exams at home. So these are two questions you had in the question. This was my answer to this. Yes.
Thank you, Dominic. Is your question answered? All right. Yes, he writes in the chat.
Thank
yes,
you for the question.
Okay, so now we look into the machine producers. So we have now Garim Kim from DKSH, Swiss large agglomerate that is joining here the panel. So Garim, are you here? Can see you.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?